Hey friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. You know, for the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team. Re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C., and then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669. To keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: Cubism, Symbolism, Futurism, Constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
About 2 minutes ago, President Obama just returned from South Africa, landed at Andrews Air Force Base, now on his way in Marine One back to the White House. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Boy, it was 45-hour jaunt down to South Africa and back for that one event. I got somebody's going to be taking a nap today. It is Wednesday morning, December 11. Good morning, good morning. Great to see you. Welcome to the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us here in our nation's capital. That's where we're booming out to you live all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station. Also seen, of course, on Free Speech TV if you got a satellite dish on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And we have our video stream up and running, pumping out on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And even down in South Africa, they could watch us there. We do have some viewers from South Africa, 133 different nations on the video stream. Whether you're listening or watching, we welcome you to the program today with lots to talk about here on a Wednesday morning, and I look forward to hearing from you. That's the best part of the show, when you get to express your opinions, either by phone at 866-55-PRESS, or on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Are we on Instagram too, or?
We don't use the Instagram that much, no.
No. A couple of people have asked me lately.
We can start using it more.
I'm just asking. I just want to know, so I can let people know how to reach us on Instagram.
We aren't right now doing it that much.
All right, we'll look into it.
Okay, we'll look into it.
It's another project for the team here. Yes, as if they didn't have enough to do. Peter Ogburn.
Hi there.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
Our social producer, Elisa Murphy. Elisa.
Good morning.
All right, good to have you with us. Got your ski sweater on this morning.
Yeah.
Alicia Cruz here. Yes, good morning, Alicia. And Cyprian Bolding. Where's Cyprian? Is he around?
He's not wearing his ski sweater this morning.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
But Cyprian's got the video cameras uncovered, which is the most important thing, right? So we can look good on the video stream and on Free Speech TV. Well, look is kind of...
I mean, look, I'm doing what I can here, okay?
And I wanted you to know, it was a tough day yesterday in our nation's capital. We had our big first snowstorm of the year. Oh, yeah, we had about 3 snowflakes yesterday morning. Yes, they shut down all the schools within 50 miles of Washington, and they shut down the entire freaking federal government. I went off to a movie yesterday afternoon with a friend, walked out of the movie. It was the most beautiful, sunny day in Washington you could imagine.
It was actually sunny in the afternoon.
It was gorgeous. There was not a drop of snow on the ground anywhere. It is so ridiculous the way they handle snow in here in Washington. I mean, somebody says, I heard it might snow next Wednesday. Shut down the federal government. The House and the Senate are here this week, the last week of 2013, to get any work done. And they took shut down the entire Capitol yesterday because of the threat of maybe having, an inch of snow? Maybe 2 inches, whatever. It's predicted.
I mean, that's the thing.
We got nothing on the ground.
There were some areas outside of actual Washington that got a very little bad, but they were predicting like 8 inches.
Yeah.
But nobody got 8 inches.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyhow. Hey, before the president left, one thing we haven't been able to bring you up to date. So before the president left, remember, he did the Kennedy honors at the White House and at the Kennedy Center. It was an interesting mix this year. Billy Joel, among others, Carlos Santana, and Shirley MacLaine. We brought some sound the other day of Billy Joel and the president talking about them. But on Shirley MacLaine, he had a lot of fun. She brought him into an area that no president has dared tread before.
When you first become president, one of the questions that people ask you is, what's really going on at Area 51?
Mm-hmm. Area 51, Roswell.
When I wanted to know, I called Shirley MacLaine. I think I just became the first president to ever publicly mention Area 51. How's that, Shirley?
You know what, man? The conspiracy theories are going to, oh, man, they're just going to get all new life, whole new round now, right?
That's you know
Don't
what's
you think?
funny is, yes, you're right. Absolutely.
I think she's the only person who won the Kennedy Centers who has actually communicated with aliens from outer space.
At least until Dennis Kucinich gets his Kennedy Center honor. But which someone looked into that, and it's true. No president has ever publicly acknowledged Area 51.
Yeah.
That he wasn't joking.
There it is. That's just another part of the Obama legacy. President Obama back from South Africa, and what a monumental, moving tribute it was yesterday. But guess what the conservatives are focusing on? We'll get right into that. David Jackson from the White House will be joining us a little bit later this hour, too. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Headlines coming your way today. Fisher-Price is in hot water this week after unveiling infant iPad devices. The newborn to toddler activity seat allows parents to strap a baby to a bouncy chair and slip an iPad inches above the infant's face. The Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood calls the device the ultimate electronic babysitter, whose existence suggests it's fine to leave newborns all alone with an iPad. The group launched a letter-writing campaign aimed at persuading parent company Mattel to cease sales of the Fisher-Price seat.
but what does it do, this iPad?
You can play on it. You
But
get
the infant
apps.
can't.
Sure,
No, can't?
sure. I mean, you open up an app that an infant can use, and they can slap away at it or do whatever.
Oh, I see.
And there's
Yeah.
never a programs that
But you
they're
said
creating
above
for
an
infant.
infant's face. Oh, I see.
So just right in
facing
front.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can be in a reclined position.
Start them early, man. They ought to be giving them ski lessons,
Let me
too.
tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You thought the millennials were bad? Wait until the people that grow up that were using iPads when they were infants.
Uncle Sam is searching for technophiles. The U.S. Army needs
There he is.
computer
Well, wait,
specialists.
no.
No.
Wait till these kids grow up.
No.
That's why we're doing this.
Starting
God.
early. The U.S. Army needs computer specialists to help develop programs that can collect, retrieve, and display massive amounts of data. The Army also
Snowden,
wants to be
right.
able to use the metadata to draw actionable intelligence displayed on three-dimensional touchscreen maps. The job openings come as the public faces daily new details about the NSA's worldwide collection of metadata.
No, exactly. I mean, you know what they ought to? They got the guy who can do this. The problem is he's under house arrest in Russia. Right. We won't let him back. They ought to hire Edward Snowden, I'm telling you.
With China choking...
After he becomes Times Man of the Year. Person of the Year, sorry. Oh,
Perfect timing.
Person of the Year. Go ahead.
With China choking on smog the last several weeks, the government came out with some startling news claiming smog has benefits. Benefits of
Yeah.
smog include unifying the Chinese people. Smog makes China more equal.
Give me that,
See
like they're
there.
all dead.
Yeah, right.
Smog raises citizen awareness of the cost of China's economic development. Smog makes people funnier.
Is that right?
These are quotes. Smog makes people more knowledgeable. The disinformation doesn't
brain
stop
food.
there. The Global Times noted smog's defensive benefits, stating, "Smog may affect people's health and daily lives, but on the battlefield it can serve as a defensive advantage in military operations."
Yeah, because you can't see the enemy. They can't see you.
Can't shoot what you can't see.
Good Lord. Oh, propaganda, baby. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, indeed. It was a remarkable event yesterday. I hope you got to see some of it at least, if not the entire 3 or 4 hours. The huge memorial service to Nelson Mandela in the World Cup Stadium down in Johannesburg, a very moving event. I mean, the rain was just impossible, and yet did not dampen the spirits of the people at all. And as moving as it was to hear the tributes to Mandela from President Obama and others, I thought the most moving part of the whole ceremony was just watching the people of South Africa. They are so upbeat and they're so lively, you know. And they as someone explained last night, their whole approach to death is that, well, the body may be cold, but this means that the spirit of the person has lifted and they've become ancestors and they become sort of heroes. And that's certainly true of Mandela. and the people spontaneously singing and dancing and like behind the speakers, you could see under the umbrellas. The umbrellas are just
that was
moving
fascinating
around.
to me.
It was just
that was
incredible.
fascinating,
and it was all real. It was all genuine. It was all so exuberant, and I have to say, so that was just so moving. And President Obama gave one of the great speeches of his life, I believe. Very, very, very powerful. Starting out, and just think about this. Here is the symbolism and the reality could not be more powerful. Here is the first black president of South Africa being remembered and eulogized and honored by the first black president of the United States. What an historic occasion. And President Obama says there was a real link between one man and the other.
Over 30 years ago, while still a student, I learned of Nelson Mandela and the struggles taking place in this beautiful land. And it stirred something in me. It woke me up to my responsibilities, to others and to myself. And it set me on an improbable journey that finds me here today. And while I will always fall short of Madiba's example, he makes me want to be a better man.
Wow, just so those words are just so, just bring tears to your eyes. But to think of that young student, and I saw a picture last night on the news of Obama as a young student at Occidental College when he first learned about Nelson Mandela. And that stirred something in him to get involved in public service, and look where he is today. And again, thanks in part, thanks of course to President Obama and his determination and his gifts, but also thanks in part to that inspiration of Nelson Mandela. And the president concluded by thanking Nelson Mandela and the people of South Africa.
What a magnificent soul it was. We will miss him deeply. May God bless the memory of Nelson Mandela. May God bless the people of South Africa.
Yeah, and he, alone among the world leaders yesterday, just got huge applause and the full attention of that crowd of 100,000 people in the World Cup Stadium. But of course, for Republicans, for conservatives, there was only one thing that happened yesterday that was worth talking about, and that is, of course, when he walked into the grandstand, when he walked into the area where the world leaders were sitting to take his seat at the stadium, the president sees the president of Cuba, Raul Castro, and he shakes his hand. Oh, my God, right? John McCain said this is the worst thing he could have done.
What's the point? Neville Chamberlain shook hands with Hitler.
Oh, give me a break. This is just going to help Raul Castro, says McCain.
It just gives Raul some propaganda to continue to prop up his dictatorial, brutal regime.
And then Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Congresswoman from Florida, of course, who has just been on the anti-Castro bandwagon her entire career, representing the Cubans in Miami. She takes on John Kerry at a hearing on the same issue at a hearing in the House yesterday.
Mr. Secretary, sometimes a handshake is just a handshake. But when the leader of the free world shakes the bloody hand of a ruthless dictator like Raul Castro, it becomes a propaganda coup for the tyrant. Raul Castro uses that hand to sign the orders to repress.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Here's what's great. I'd love to know what you think about this big deal. Handshake, 866-55-PRESS. Let me tell you what I think about it. Number one, what were they there to do? They were there to celebrate the spirit of Nelson Mandela. What is Nelson Mandela known for? That he was a champion of reconciliation. He's the model of reaching out and embracing your enemies. Remember, he invited his white jailers to his inauguration. He put former apartheid people in his own government, right? I mean, that was Nelson Mandela. That's what they were there supposedly to celebrate. And the other thing is, he shook his hand. What was he supposed to do? He walks in and the guy's sitting right there. What's he supposed to do, turn around and moon him? I mean, Jesus. He gave him a handshake. A handshake. He didn't give him a big hug, right? He didn't give him a high five. He didn't give him a French kiss. He shook his hand. I mean, this is insane that these people are making such a big deal of it. And the other thing is, you know what? I hope it's not just a handshake. I hope, let's get real. I hope after 60 years of a stupid relationship toward Cuba, that we have no relations with Cuba, no trade relations with Cuba today, 90 miles off our shore. This is an insane American foreign policy. So I would hope that handshake with Castro would lead to some talks with the Cuban government and to normalizing relations between Cuba. That's what we need. We need more than a handshake. I'm not upset. The only thing I'm upset about the handshake is that maybe there won't be any follow-through to the handshake. Did President Obama go too far in shaking the hand of Raul Castro, as John McCain and other conservatives are saying today? 866-55-PRESS on the Wednesday morning edition of The Bill Press Show.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. You know, for the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team. Re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, we're talking about the president's handshake yesterday with Raul Castro, which has gotten conservatives so upset. I forgot to mention, Marco Rubio, of course, also jumped in saying that this was like the president shaking hands with a terrorist. You know, how dare he do it? By the way, just want to remind people, Bill Clinton actually shook hands with Fidel Castro, not Raul, with Fidel Castro, the real enemy, huh? Yeah, in their view, back in the year 2000, and nothing happened. What's this big deal all about? Joey out in Chicago. Hey, Joey, what's going on? How are you, man?
Oh, man, no big deal at all. I can't believe it. The rest of the world trades with Cuba. We should have natural relationships with Cuba again.
Absolutely.
For purposes. And all he did was shake his hand. That's what Nelson Mandela was about, forgiveness. It was the spirit of Mandela. When he had to shake his hand. That's just a good guy. It doesn't have nothing to do with he's the worst man in the world and all that. And McCain better watch it because, listen, he did a lot more than shake the Vietnamese hands when he was captured.
Hey, let me
watch his mouth, buddy.
Let me tell you something.
I'm about sick of him.
Well, I won't knock him for his service in Vietnam, but John McCain went to Libya and shook the hands of Muammar Gaddafi. Right. Talking about somebody who was killing his people. Emily in Gates County, North Carolina. Hey, Emily.
Hi, Mr. Press.
Bill,
I love
please.
your show.
Thank you.
Yes, my husband and I watch it every morning.
Oh, good for you. Thanks.
Yes. And I was telling the young lady that answered that I just find it to be very ironic and ridiculous that they're making a big deal out of President Obama shaking the hands of Raul Castro.
It's just, I don't understand it. I mean, I guess, first of all, they're so critical of Obama, right? They have to find something bad to say about everything that he does. Yesterday was a moment that we all should have been participating in it and be proud of, including the handshake.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. You know, for the last 10 days, we've been telling all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team. Re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincione's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C., and then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669. to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
President Obama back at the White House now. I just saw a picture of the White House. The White House entirely, everything dark, except you can see the president's bedroom up on the third floor where the light is on. He and the First Lady back in the White House, probably wondering what time it is and what time zone that they are in. But of course, the only thing conservatives are talking about, the right-wingers, about yesterday's glorious celebration of Nelson Mandela's life is, how dare the president shake hands with Raul Castro of Cuba? What was he supposed to do? Flip him the bird as he walked by? I mean, come on. Again, in the spirit of Nelson Mandela. But one other thing I haven't mentioned so far, which is that in his speech after shaking Castro's hand, the president in his speech said, basically, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. He said, there are those who evoke the spirit of Nelson Mandela, didn't mention Cuba by name, but clearly. He said, there are nations that evoke the spirit of Nelson Mandela and yet deny their people basic freedoms. So therefore, they are phony Mandela supporters. Yeah, he was talking about countries like Cuba. So Despite what he said in his speech, people are still saying President Obama should never, never, never have shaken Raul Castro's hand. Jon Stewart had a lot of fun with this last night, making his own points about why this whole flap is just ridiculous.
Barack Obama at a memorial celebrating the life of Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
A man whose legacy is that he forgave and embraced his foes and tormentors, and thus inspired his country to a national and democratic rebirth.
Yes, listen, let's not forget
Attending
that.
Obama had the audacity to greet another world leader with a gesture so meaningless, you can train a basset hound to do it.
You can
shake hands, boy.
You can train your dog to shake hands. No, exactly. What do you think of this whole flap 866-55 press? Again, I wish that President Obama had said, Raul, you ought to come up and we ought to talk about some steps that you ought to make in your country and some steps we're willing to make in our country to bring our countries back together again. It's just insane. Cuba is a beautiful, beautiful country, of beautiful people, and the idea that we are trading with Vietnam, right? North and South, we're trading with Vietnam, and yet we won't trade with Cuba? Ridiculous. Melvin, South Bend, Indiana. Melvin, what do you think about this whole flap?
Well, I think that, first of all, I'll say good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Merry Christmas to your crew, because I doubt if I'll get you again.
All right.
But I think John McCain and all the Republicans have a real serious problem with humanity. First and utmost, even in a sport event, you shake the opponent's hand
Good
and
point.
then you go out and beat them.
Yeah.
Or in a boxing match, Muhammad Ali shook so many hands, he still overrated them.
Yeah.
So these guys, of course, President Barack Obama did not spend the night at Omar Gaddafi's house like John Wayne did.
Thank you. John McCain.
Well,
Yeah.
John Wayne is what I'm calling
Oh, I got
it.
it.
All he does is shoot blanks. That's the way I see it, Phil.
All right,
you
Melvin.
and the team have a great holiday.
Hey,
Thanks, Melvin.
You're a great friend and a great American. Thanks, Melvin. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you, too. Good to hear from you. Yeah, right.
The sporting event analogy is good. And it also, like, at funerals or memorial services, like if you have that aunt that you don't necessarily care for, if you've had a falling out with a family member, you put that crap aside, usually.
I saw in the stands Winnie Mandela come up and embrace the new wife and the surviving widow of Nelson Mandela, right? There's got to be some hard feelings there.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
You put it aside.
Yeah. Yeah, Winnie Mandela, who stood by Nelson Mandela all that time that he was in prison. Yeah, so, you put that certainly when you're there celebrating the life of Nelson Mandela, you ought to put that aside. Bruce in Canby, Oregon. Hey, Bruce, how's the West Coast? What's going on?
How's it going, Bill? Long-time fan. And, when I heard about the handshake, I knew it was a bit like a baton passed on to the next runner with the right wing. I just knew that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But how can you go to South Africa and honor Mandela and not embrace the enemies? I mean, that's what he stood for. That was all about. So if he snobbed them, then wow, they would have took that to the next level, right?
Yeah. You know what? If Mandela had been alive, right, and Mandela looking over that stadium, I think he would have had that gesture we know so well and spread his hand and say, okay, now all you guys shake hands with each other, right? Yeah. Let's give each other a big hug here now. Let's just get this all get together one day at least, right?
When people met him, they thought he was going to be this big person that stuck all the algebra like Don King, but he was a person that just blended in with everyone else. So how can you honor that by being a snob?
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot do it. And again, if you look at our Cuban-American relations, it is absolutely absurd. I mean, I've been on this issue for a long, long time. I've been to Cuba myself. I personally spoke to President Bill Clinton when he was in the White House, personally spoke to Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and told them there was the opportunity. They had the opportunity to normalize relations with Cuba. We haven't been able to get any Republican or Democratic president yet, including this president, by the way. President Obama's made some steps to improve travel back and forth, to open that up a little bit. But still, the sanctions put in place by John F. Kennedy remain, right? Well, the Cuban Missile Crisis, let's face it, folks, it's been over a long time. Cuba is not a threat to the United States, no matter what Marco Rubio says. It's time to move on. My home state of Delaware, Lincoln, Delaware. Hello, Elliot. Good morning.
How you doing, Bill?
All right.
What's going on? Now, let me just say real quick, McCain, that was really ridiculous for him to make that comment, because McCain himself shook hands with Gaddafi.
Exactly.
Gaddafi
I think, as Melvin just said, or Bruce said, spent the night in his house, too.
Exactly. So, whatever this Obama does, they're going to find problem with it, so it doesn't really matter. He did it right then. That wasn't Obama's party. That was something to observe Mandela. So they should leave it at that and move on.
It's sort of like, Elliot, they've got to find something wrong with everything Obama does, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So of all of the great things that he said yesterday, and the incredibly powerful way that he represented the United States, all of us, right, at that service, and the reception that he got and everything, a proud moment for the United States. No, they got to pick, right, at this little thing. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, happy holidays, Elliot. Good to hear from you. By the way, I was at the Taste of Delaware the other night, this big event that Senator Chris Coons and Senator Tom Carper host at the nation's capital, with all the fine food from Delaware, the restaurateurs from Delaware coming in town here and showing their best. Boy, it was a great evening.
My favorite food from
I was
Delaware.
proud of my home state.
Good for you should be. My favorite food from Delaware is Dogfish Head beer.
Oh, dog.
Yeah, that's my favorite food.
Dogfish Ale beer. Yeah. There was lots of it there, by the way.
Good. Excellent.
Oh, yeah. They were well represented. A final call here on the Big Handshake. Paul is calling from Benson, Pennsylvania. Hey, Paul, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I remember back in the 80s, there was a photo of Donald Rumsfeld shaking hands with Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein, right. Yeah.
Yeah, just before he gassed all the Kurds.
Uh-huh.
So what's the big deal here?
And by the way, which we did nothing about at the time, right? Because we were supporting him against Iran at the time. Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Very good. I'm glad you reminded us of that, Paul. And again, I remind you, not that there was anything wrong with it, President Bill Clinton at the United Nations in 2000 walks into a reception, and there is standing Fidel Castro, who sticks out his hand. And what did Bill Clinton do? He didn't spit on it. He shook hands with Fidel Castro. BFD. Yeah, and that's what I say about the handshake with Raul Castro. I hope there's more than a handshake. Coming up, David Jackson joins us from the White House next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team. Re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. for $360, $30 a month. You've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
And online on TawkrTV, this is the Bill Press Show.
Here we are, 13 minutes back in the White House after that 45-hour grueling trip to South Africa and back. President Obama and the First Lady back in the White House, probably ready for a long winter's nap. On the job at the White House early this morning, covering the White House for USA Today, David Jackson joining us again this Wednesday morning. Hey, David, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, not a whole lot, Bill. We actually have a lid until a rare breakfast lid until 10 o'clock.
I saw that. Yeah, a breakfast lid.
You don't see those very often, but you do when the presidents fly halfway around the world on short notice. The president and the first lady got back right around 6 a.m., went straight up to the residence, and I suspect they're napping right now. So.
I was just going to say, yeah, they're probably trying to figure out what time. Having just come back from not quite so grueling a trip, but an 18-hour flight from Europe, you wonder what time zone you're on. You know,
right,
how can you get back in sync, right?
Very much so.
So the breakfast lid is sort of saying, don't expect to hear from us or see us or anything for the next 5 hours, right?
Exactly. Well, that's a tip to us because I think we will hear from the president today on the budget deal. So but we won't hear from him before 10 o'clock.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you about. Well, first of all, on the South African trip, it was an incredible showing of current president, 2 former presidents, 3 former presidents, right? At that ceremony yesterday,
right?
A couple of dozen members of Congress, and everybody's focusing on the handshake. Was it more than a handshake, right?
I don't know. In this age of social media, nothing fails to astonish me anymore. Well, first of all, on Monday when the program came out, President Obama and Raul Castro were listed as 2 of the 5 world leaders who were going to speak. So you knew that President Obama and Raul Castro were going to be on the same stage together in close proximity. And it doesn't particularly surprise me that they would shake hands. It's just, a social thing to do. I don't really know. I don't really quite understand what people expected President Obama to do or not to do. He just went up, shook the hands, had a few pleasantries, and moved on. But yes, it really exploded on the social media. First and I did it too. So, I mean, first of all, there were the reporters who talked about this is the first contact between the U.S. and Cuba, or one of the first contacts between the U.S. and Cuba since Castro took over. And there was an awful lot of stories. Then the second wave was people criticizing the president for, quote, shaking the bloody hand, end quote, of Raul Castro. So it just was a social media phenomenon throughout the day.
That was one of the social media phenomena.
Right.
The other was the selfie.
The selfie, yes. And that was a situation where, I don't know whose smartphone it was, but President Obama was sitting in proximity to British Prime Minister David Cameron and the Danish Prime Minister, whose name I'm afraid I can't pronounce.
Nor can I.
And they took a selfie together, and that went viral, and some people questioned whether it was appropriate to take a selfie at a cell phone, to which the White House would say, hey, there were people singing and dancing. It was a memorial service. It wasn't a funeral. There were people singing and dancing. It was, in many ways, a joyous occasion. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
And a subset of that is Mrs. Obama is sitting next to the threesome looking somewhat chagrined at the whole thing. And there were other pictures that came out showing her with a rather sour look on her face.
Yeah. She was not thrilled.
It looked like she was saying, come on, you guys. Let's show some decorum here or something
I think that was part. I think she saw it as a funeral, and the others saw it as a kind of a celebration of Mandela's life. So.
Right. So let's talk about the budget deal. This kind of goes along with what the president's saying he wanted to see, right? They got to be happy with this at the White House.
They are for a lot of reasons. I mean, the president did send out a written statement late last night, a long written statement detailing what he liked and what he didn't like, but also said he would sign it. He says it's a good first step toward what he calls the balanced approach, which means, in his view, prudent budget cuts combined with investments in things like education and other job growth programs. So he's very satisfied. Now, Bill, the last couple of days I've been hearing members of both parties basically saying they want to get this budget thing past the next election.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of intense interest in getting this done. This new budget deal would extend funding through January of 2015, well past the next congressional election.
So this is
we'll fight about it then.
This is a 2-year budget, the first 2-year budget we've had in a long time.
Right, exactly.
And does it, I haven't had a chance to study it yet, does it include an extension of the unemployment benefits?
It's part of the overall deal. Now, whether that's part of the budget, I don't know. You get in the mechanics there, but yeah, that's all. They are going to approve an extension of the unemployment benefits as part of the overall agreement. Now, whether it'll be actually part of the specific budget deal or something separate, I don't know.
And would you agree that Paul Ryan or Patty Murray would not have come before the public yesterday, before the press yesterday, unless they already were sure they could get the votes?
I would assume. I mean, it's always a question of the Tea Party in the House, but I would think so too. You know, Boehner and John Boehner and Eric Cantor also had nice things to say about the deal. I think the deal's been cut. I'm sure they'll lose a lot of Republican votes, but I'm sure there's enough votes there to get it over.
Yeah, because they'll have a full vote in the House this time, so the Democrats will be able to vote for it, and then enough Republicans. And then in the Senate, Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid have both praised the deal, so that it should go through. And
well, the Senate's a done deal because a lot of the Republican senators are eager to get this behind them because a lot of the Republican senators face primaries, not just general elections, so they're eager to get something done.
Now, the other news around the White House, David, is that the return of John Podesta. What's the deal there? What's he going to be doing? Do we know?
Basically, a lot of strategizing. He's basically going to assume some of the duties that Pete Rouse has been doing. Now, this all assumes that Pete Rouse is leaving, which I'm not convinced is going to happen. I believe Pete Rouse will leave Barack Obama's side when he actually walks out those White House gates, okay? But there are a lot of rumors that Pete Rouse, who's a long-time aide to President Obama, will in fact be leaving the White House early next year. So Podesta's coming in as a senior counselor role. It's basically the role Karen Hughes had for George W. Bush. He'll be doing a lot of things, coordinating a lot of strategy, doing some legislation, doing some public relations work. And the reason they're bringing Podesta in is because he's aggressive, because he's used to second terms that have had troubles. You know, he was with Bill Clinton back when he had his difficulties.
Right.
And that he's also he knows his way around, knows a lot of people in both parties. One thing that was pointed out to me was that he'll have a particular interest in climate change. So that his hiring indicates that he will make a move on climate change. And a lot of the pro-Keystone people are worried because Podesta is very much a critic of that project.
Oh, is that right? Well, I'm glad to hear that. Personally, at any rate. All right, David, I see that Josh Earnest is going to be briefing us at 12:30, so I'll see you down there a little bit later. Thanks for joining us again this morning.
Great, thank you.
David Jackson, usatoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. You know, for the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. rejoin the team, re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. Important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, the telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Clinton Yates, columnist for the Washington Post, joins us as our friend Bill in the next hour. Peter, what's going on?
Pot smokers have a new paradise.
Pot smokers
have a new paradise.
Colorado and Washington State.
Uruguay. They legalized the growing, the sale, and the smoking of marijuana yesterday.
All of it.
All of it. It is legal top to bottom. When the bill goes through, which is going to be in mid-April, they'll be able to actually grow 6 marijuana plants in their home. They'll be able to smoke it. They'll be able to buy it from the pharmacy. You have to be over 18 years old, and they put your name into a database to monitor how much weed you're buying per month. But it's across the board. It's legal.
I'm telling you.
Just like cigarettes or alcohol.
It is happening. We have to schedule a pot sampling smoking session here on the Bill Press Show. One of these Fridays coming up soon.
Sure.
Early in the new year. Okay.
Sure.
Because this is the trend, and I want to be ahead of the curve, not behind it.
All right.
All right. Back with Clinton Yates, hour number 2.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. We've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team, re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincione's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Back from South Africa, back in the White House. Give him time to take a nap, and then we expect to hear from President Obama a little bit later today about the budget deal reached yesterday between the House and the Senate. A little bit of good news for once. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 11. This is the Bill Press Show. Great to see you today. We are here with you on your local progressive talk radio station all around the country, bringing you the news of the day, our commentary on what's happening, and looking for your thoughts, your reaction to what it means to you, to your family, to your community. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Don't just listen in. Join the conversation at any time by phone or on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. To help us through the big news of the day, we turn to a really good friend of the program, here as a friend of Bill the entire hour. You remember him filling in for me when I was off spending some leisure time in Sicily. Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. Clinton, good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Bill. Glad to be here.
The reviews were over the top.
Really?
That's
good to hear. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It was a fun time. So
some of them went a little too far. They sort of suggested that I take more time off, which I didn't appreciate.
No, thank you again. It was a great time, and thanks to Elahe and everybody that came in for us. Elahe Azadi of Nat Journal, who co-hosted with me, and everybody else who came in. It was a fun time. It was Thanksgiving week too, so that was a little bit more of a layup than a normal week. To be fair,
it was fun. It was a fun show.
It was very fun. So.
What do you think of the team here? Got the good team to work with.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, I've been a friend of the show for a long time. I mean, you don't need me to tell everybody else that it's a great time working here. But I found out firsthand, and I was happy to do it. So
the team led by Peter Ogburn. Peter, good morning.
Hey.
New member of our team, Elisa Murphy here as our new associate producer.
Good morning.
Elisa, good to have you on board. Alicia Cruz, she is standing by. She is your contact with the show. She answers the phone. She's there for you. And keeping us looking good on that video stream on a Free Speech TV is our videographer, Cyprian Bolding. Some big news yesterday out of General Motors. A couple of items. One is we taxpayers don't own any more General Motors. We sold all the rest of our stock. At one time, for the bailout, we went up to 60% of GM. That's why they're calling it government motors.
Right.
So we gave them I was just looking at the numbers, $49.5 billion. We got $39.5 billion back. So we lost $10 billion on the deal, but we saved General Motors. And all those jobs.
As far as the fabric of America is concerned, was I think a necessary move on a certain level. I mean,
I do too. And the other big news, by the way, overall on the TARP, so-called TARP, all the banks and everything we bailed out, we actually made money on that. We got more money back.
Short version, it worked.
It worked. The other big news about General Motors is they have a new GM, or new CEO, who is, for the first time ever, a woman, Mary Barra. She said she's working with a great team.
I've worked at General Motors for 33 years, and I've always known it's a great company. The men and women of General Motors are so dedicated, and I truly believe we have the best team on the field.
From what I've read about her, she's an incredible woman. She started out, her father worked for GM. Mm-hmm. She joined the company. She was a designer, like an engineering designer. Had a lot to do with some of the new cars they've come out with, including the new Cadillac CTS. And so
you like that car?
I love that car.
You seem like a Cadillac guy.
I'm not, but I've been tempted to buy one.
You might be now.
I must say though, I'm not super familiar with the executive culture of like the car industry, but I mean, I don't know. This strikes me as a little late to the game for GM to have. I mean, is that just me, or this is kind of surprising to me that it's taken this long? Not that it's a huge, huge deal, because I still think in 2013, if you hire a woman to hire a company, it should not necessarily be huge news, because it's probably something that should be happening on a much larger basis anyway. But it's kind of surprising to me that it took this long for them.
But it's the largest American company yet to be headed by a woman.
Okay.
And if you look at still, I agree with you 100%. Yet the reality is, if you look across the board at the Fortune 500 companies and the CEOs,
Just
there
not
are
the
very
case.
few women.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a great
Very
moment. I
few
wasn't
women.
trying to imply that it should
Yeah.
not be otherwise sort of noted as news. I just, again, in car culture in general, I wasn't really familiar with how prevalent that was. I guess not much.
There it is. So Clinton here is for the entire hour is a friend of Bill. We'll be joined by Rebecca Sinderbrand from Politico a little bit later in the program. And then Barry Lynn, the Reverend Barry Lynn from Americans United for Separation of Church and State, joining us in the next hour as well. Clinton, we've got a lot to get to, but first,
This
Lisa.
is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making your way today. The founder of Lululemon Athletica, Chip Wilson, is stepping down as chairman of the Canadian company after causing tempers to flare with his comments about the body types of potential buyers of the popular retail's yoga pants. Wilson said the pants weren't made for overweight women with, quote, thighs that rub together, unquote. The company hopes new faces at the top will help the company's tarnished reputation.
Let me tell you something. If you're a guy
and
and that's your thought about anything, you shouldn't be
What? A caveman.
Right.
I mean.
And there's even worse comments online.
Really?
What
just the
a
beginning.
joke.
But his business is selling yoga pants to women, and he's attacking their bodies.
I mean, I thought the whole deal with Lululemon was that there was some sort of peace, love, and inclusion kind of factor there that goes into the whole yoga mentality.
Yeah, as long as you're
That's how
skinny.
they sell it.
Right. Yeah, as long as you're skinny.
Wow.
Get that guy out of there.
More 2013 lists are in. The Washington Post sharing their nominees for the worst campaigns of the year. Topping the list is Barbara Buono of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth Colbert Bush of South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Virginian Ken Cuccinelli.
That's up there.
And two from New York, we have Chris Quinn and Anthony Weiner. And the winner is
Oh, man.
Chris Quinn.
Nice.
Quinn built her campaign around the idea that she would be the natural successor to Bloomberg, but as the city began to break from the once beloved mayor, Quinn was trapped to a political sinking ship.
Yeah.
I'm personally going to go with Cuccinelli on that list just because more locally, but
I think I might go with Wiener on that.
yeah, that's true. You probably should have never been in it to begin with.
That's right. That's right.
Christmas came early for some passengers traveling to Calgary.
I love this story.
19 hidden cameras captured guests at Toronto and Hamilton International airports confiding their Christmas wishes with a virtual Santa Claus while waiting to board flights. WestJet passengers were surprised upon arrival when a decorated baggage carousel came to life, bearing not just their suitcases, but the gifts they had asked for hours before.
So get this. They're getting on a plane in Toronto, and they have this virtual Santa Claus. Ask every passenger, so what do you want for Christmas? Just, kind of a thing. And they all said, they told them what they wanted, right? Kids, adults, everything. When these passengers deplaned in Calgary, what they had asked for was bought, wrapped, and on the baggage
That is
carousel
amazing.
with their name on it, waiting for
That's
them.
a beautiful story.
That's who is responsible for that?
I don't know.
Beyond Santa,
Elves,
kids,
dude.
if you're listening.
Yeah.
I know. That is wild to me.
Isn't that crazy?
That sounds like that is very
that is
Amazon Prime-ish, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that
I wonder if
is-
they use drones to get those things there.
Exactly.
They had a Santa's helpers, man, out for sure.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the greatest promo campaign.
That is
I've
pretty
ever-
cool. Yeah, whoever
I've-
did that is.
I've ever heard. All right, before we get into the serious items here, Clinton, you get to vote. Time Magazine has now narrowed their choice for the Person of the Year down to 5.
Okay. Am I eligible like whatever year that was when we all were named Person of the Year?
Right.
You.
That's right, that you.
Yeah.
So the 5 that they say they're considering still, Bashar Assad, the president of Syria, Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, right?
Ted Cruz?
Yeah. Pope Francis, Edie Windsor, the plaintiff in the DOMA case, and Edward Snowden. So
I'd probably go with the Pope there. The Pope I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm obviously not some huge Catholic, and I just feel that what he's been able to do from a basic human level has put that position back in a place where people can, I don't want to say people can respect it, but people can take it seriously. It's not just a ceremonial thing where you're floating through masses. I mean, he's been out there on a couple of issues that I think a lot of people, at the very least, have respected the fact that he was willing to say anything at all and hasn't just taken the sort of typical dogma line that a lot of popes have taken in, at least in my lifetime. And I don't know. I just think he's a much more personable person than we've ever really seen at that position, and I think he has impact on more than just Catholics, and it's still an important position in the world, no matter what.
I think it'll be the Pope. I think they're going to go with the Pope. I think they should go with Snowden.
Really,
actually, in terms of the one who has had the most impact on the news.
That's true.
But I don't think they'll have the guts to go with Snowden. So.
Yeah, I think that
Pope's a good choice too, because he has had a huge impact, as you point out.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Pope, and I don't follow the Pope, but I like the Pope.
You wrote a very powerful story about your own learning about Nelson Mandela and the impact that he had on you. President Obama spoke about that yesterday. But first, tell us your story.
So when I grew up in D.C. in the 80s and 90s, both of my parents worked in international development. And so the Free South Africa movement, to me, was something that was a dinner table conversation, for lack of a better term. It was a big part of the embodiment of what a lot of their friends, my older sister, were involved with. It was sort of effectively the first real political battle that I knew in my life, just from casual, conversations and things with friends. So we're talking in the 80s when, my sister and my dad would be protesting either at the embassy or out in front of the Shell gas station near our house. And eventually all of that moved, fast forward until the elections happened after Mandela was freed. And my mother worked with the King Foundation down there, the King Foundation in Atlanta, based in Joburg, to educate safely and non-violently a good 150,000 South African voters.
Wow.
Which it's hard for people to understand that you don't just hold an election and expect people to know what to do. It's first of all, there's the violence component. Never voted. You have to educate people on just what it means. A lot of people are sort of fearful of what the ramifications could be. It was a very tenuous situation. So the first time I went to South Africa, I was about, I guess I would have been 13 years old, and it was like a month before the elections. And I as a tourist, I got to see a lot of the stuff, but it was tense. It was tense in the way that when you don't know what's going to happen, is sort of the feeling. That's just all there is. There was a lot of sort of random violence between groups and so on and so forth. But anyway, it went off, not without a hitch. I think that would be unfair to say, but Mandela got elected. And so that was my first introduction to it from an on-the-ground soil perspective. My sister then ended up going to grad school in Cape Town. And so I visited her down there before, I guess I was like 15 or so. And it was, it was a great experience, but it was a different South Africa at that point. Things were sort of cooled. I mean, Cape Town is a different place. It's a coastal city. It's further south. It's just a different environment, but you felt that the country had made a step forward in terms of from the old initial, I cannot believe that we're actually done with apartheid, to we're growing into who we are. After that, after Thabo Mbeki, who was the deputy president of South Africa at the time, and Al Gore made their Peace Corps agreement, my dad was named the first country director in Peace Corps. So he was responsible for the initial group of Americans that were going out into the field and going out into the country to work with Native South Africans and villages and so forth. And that experience is what really, really changed me as a person, because when I wasn't here, I lived down there with him. And a lot of the volunteers, were part of our social circle, obviously, because they worked and everybody did everything. And I worked at the embassy. I worked at USAID while I was there. And it was just, you got to interact with people of a new nation that were grown-ups. Imagine living your whole life, and then all of a sudden, the entire social order of what defined who you were is drastically altered, to the point that you feel that you have somewhat of a chance, or at least respected on a level that you haven't been before. And that's what I was lucky enough to be able to engage with and be able to learn from. And in addition to that, my dad's wife, my stepmom now, she got a clerkship at the time because she was coming from Columbia Law to work in the Constitutional Court in South Africa that was just created there for the purposes of upholding and sort of correctly adjudicating and fairly managing the new anti-apartheid laws. So, when Madiba passed, we all just sort of talked, and I, just sort of asked everybody what their experiences were about it. And everybody had a very different sort of thing. And what I wrote in that piece was, I wasn't on sort of the front lines of Mandela being a motivator for me necessarily. But what he did do, and through South Africa as a nation, was guide the way sort of the people closest to me that raised me felt about their world outlooks in terms of things like compassion, in terms of things like, civil disobedience, in terms of things like just simple human dignity. And it would be impossible for me to say that I could even understand what my life would be like without Mandela, because all of the people that taught me anything were so pushed and so motivated by him. So
when they said about him, and I remember I mentioned a couple of times on the show, the night that he passed, and Scott Pelley started the CBS News with the words, "He changed the world."
Yeah.
Very simple phrase, but and very powerful phrase. And he did.
Yeah.
He changed the lives of millions and millions of people, yourself included.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair to say. I mean, a lot of I don't know. I saw a lot of pundits write a lot of weird things that sort of involve Donald Trump out there saying I had a great relationship with Obama and all this kind of stuff. To me, it wasn't about that. I mean, I never met Obama. Pardon me, Mandela.
Sure.
I didn't meet him. You know what I mean? And I mean, my dad, I think, met him briefly once in an official context, but it wasn't about me. It was just about the nation that he created and the wind of motivation and of change that he was such an energy source for is impossible to ignore in my life.
Yeah, and that powerful figure celebrated yesterday in a very moving ceremony in Johannesburg. President Obama giving, I think, one of the best speeches of his career. But the right-wingers are focusing on something else that happened yesterday. We'll get into that with Clinton Yates when we come back here on the Bill Press Show this Wednesday morning.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team. Re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincione's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is we are here for you We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
To volunteer now.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour here, the Bill Press Show, Wednesday morning. Good to have you with us. Clinton Yates here as a friend of Bill Clinton. No matter what the president said yesterday, the whole focus for the conservatives and Fox News is just having a field day with it this morning is all about the handshake, where the president walked into the stands where the world leaders were, and there's the president of Cuba, Raul Castro, and he shakes hands with Raul Castro.
What did people want him to do? You want him to flip the bird to Castro? Is that what you wanted? I mean, listen, and I don't normally get this sort of feisty about things that the choices that the president makes, but again, it was Nelson Mandela's funeral ceremony, not funeral ceremony, but ceremony to celebrate his message.
What he was all about, right?
Inclusion.
Yes.
Forgiving oppressors, reconciliation, as you would say. So it would have made absolutely no sense to get up there and make a speech like he did, the president, and then turn around and snub somebody for the purposes of some ceremonial or political statement, which would not have made sense. It would have been completely contradictory.
Plus, it was a handshake.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's not like the guy is agreeing to some sort of... I think that this is way overblown, personally, and I think it's irresponsible to imply that it means something more than it did.
John McCain, one of the biggest critics of the president for shaking hands with Raul Castro. John McCain, who went to Libya and spent the night in Muammar Gaddafi's house. Yeah.
Right. I'm
sure he shook his hand.
I'm sure.
He ate his food.
Drank his water. Yeah. Exactly. He did something. So it just doesn't make sense to me to be jumping down the president's throat about this when, that's what they're there for.
And if we had more time, I'll just quickly make the point. I hope the handshake is followed by some real serious talks between the United States and Cuba, because it's about time we changed our stupid policy toward Cuba about not having any trade relations with that nation 90 miles off our coast. It's just insane.
Yeah.
But, the conservatives will always find something about anything Obama does, right? To pick
Every
apart.
single thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, pick. We will make room here for Rebecca Sinderbrand from Politico next on the Bill Press Show with Clinton Yates.
This is the Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So we just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team, re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, it's 33 minutes after the hour now here on the Bill Press Show. This Wednesday morning, we're coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their colorful international president, Leo Gerard. The United Steelworkers, North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. Check out their website for more information at usw.org. Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, columnist, here in the studio with us this morning.
How you doing?
Good to have you here as a friend of Bill again. You can follow him at WashingtonPost.com, of course. And President Obama back in the White House after this. It's 45 hours down to South Africa and back for that.
I've flown
ceremony.
it. Yeah, and it's a long haul.
Yeah, but
I don't know that. See, when you fly down there commercial, though, you got to stop in the Cape Verde Islands, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth, if you didn't know that. So
well, they refueled in Senegal, but didn't even spend the night down there. He's back in the White House. We hope he's taking a little nap right now. Nothing else on his announced agenda for the rest of the day. But he gave, I have to say, I felt one of the most powerful speeches of his presidency yesterday. And he talked, Clinton, about how the impact that Mandela had on his personal life.
Over 30 years ago, while still a student, I learned of Nelson Mandela and the struggles taking place in this beautiful land. And it stirred something in me. It woke me up to my responsibilities, to others and to myself, and it set me on an improbable journey that finds me here today. And while I will always fall short of Madiba's example, he makes me want to be a better man.
I thought it was so impressive. And there's like a direct line from Mandela to Barack Obama.
And I think that's where...
Stirred something in me.
I thought that was very powerful, and I think that's something where that's the story that most people will tell. You know, you learn about what's going on with that guy, and it empowers you to be a better person. I think that's what most people, specifically in this country, their connection to Mandela is. Be better. It works.
Also, watching all of this unfold down at the White House, Rebecca Sinderbrand is the Deputy White House Editor for the great journal Politico, joining us on our newsline this morning. Hi, Rebecca. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say Josh Gerstein from Politico did a great job as the White House pool reporter on this trip.
That's right, our intrepid pooler is back. Very, very much enjoying his reports, and that's quite a whirlwind trip, as you're pointing out. I believe the exact count is something like 46 hours, and I believe 13 minutes, according to Mark Knoller, who keeps these sort of stats.
Wow. Right. And the idea also with former President George W. Bush and Laura Bush on Air Force One, former First Lady Hillary Clinton on Air Force One, and then Bill Clinton and Chelsea and Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter joining the team down there.
It's a hell of a poker game right there.
That's right. It's quite a lineup. Yeah, it's got Pete Souza posting a couple of photos this morning, including former President Bush showing his paintings off to Hillary Clinton and Susan Rice, the First Ladies. Yeah, the former First Lady. Yeah, so...
hang on.
Wait.
Skip over that little detail.
He took some of his paintings?
No. He took photos of his paintings on the iPad, and he had it out on the table in the big conference room there, and they're all sitting around, and Susan Rice looks very impressed by what she's seeing. So those photos are out this morning.
He's a pretty good artist. To be clear, he has nothing to be scoffed at. The guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he's selling paintings on Air Force One. Is this what he's doing?
It's not good. I think he was more sharing in the spirit of artistic appreciation was the sense you get from the photo.
No, I'm sure of that. So the president does come on while they were on Air Force One. The president put out a big statement late last night about the budget deal. Rebecca, is this something the White House helped shape, and are they happy with it? What's the reaction?
Well, the White House is happy, and clearly, both sides involved in this negotiation. This is, a oddly kind of smooth negotiation. It continued. There weren't any huge breaks or fits and starts. Clearly there are people on both sides. The White House acknowledged this, and both Patty Murray and Paul Ryan acknowledged this yesterday, who are not happy with what they're seeing in this deal. But, as Ben White, our columnist, pointed out, that there's not a huge appetite now, at the moment at least, for another big face-off. So that's the dynamic right at the moment.
Wow, not a big appetite for a face-off? That is a frightening thought. But so one of the things that the White House has done recently is brought in some old hands in terms of their staff. I guess the basic question is, why now?
Well, let's talk about one in particular, which is John Podesta.
Right. My question is the same, but yes, Podesta specifically is whom I was referring to.
The interesting thing is the signal from this that a lot of Democrats are taking away. First of all, the near universal reaction to, senior Democrats that our reporter spoke with yesterday was it's about time. And that the hire of Podesta, in their words, signals a more aggressive White House strategy looking forward. They're saying it's a long overdue move. It should help the president kind of install the kind of management and oversight structure that you didn't see in the rollout of healthcare.gov. And so it also kind of signals, in their mind, a more aggressive focus by the White House on using executive authority to get around Congress and the president's remaining time.
So somebody maybe that things might have gone better if Podesta had been there
all along,
right?
Well, right. And again, as you point out, this isn't the only move. The first hiring, they brought Phil Scalero back, and so
Paul Scalero. I'm sorry. What's his Rich? Is it Rich Scalero?
Phil.
Phil. Yeah.
That's right. right now, look, the focus for Podesta is he's going to be basically taking on the position, obviously, that's being vacated by Pete Rouse in the next few weeks. And that's a big portfolio. That includes personnel. Some of those pieces of that are going to be handed off to other White House staff. But the main tasks for Podesta are going to be working with Dennis McDonough on the president's biggest initiatives. So we're talking Obamacare, we're talking climate change, and he's going to report to McDonough, of course.
It is also reported this morning that John Podesta is going to recuse himself
from Keystone.
From anything to do with the Keystone Pipeline because he has been a known opponent of the Keystone Pipeline.
Awkward.
A little awkward, but I'm sure he will have an opportunity to make his feelings known.
Yes.
Over a beer at some point. We talked about the budget deal briefly. The president said he would sign this budget deal, even though he's not totally happy with it himself. But the thing about the budget deal is this is good for like 2 years. So this is going to get us away from the crisis of the month approach to the budget.
And
correct,
of course,
Rebecca?
most importantly, with that timeline, it gets you past the midterm. So it takes the politics out of it, which is very important. I think for people on both sides, the big news right now this week politically, of course, is that you're seeing a number of Republicans facing primary challengers. Of course, some of these challengers now facing maybe a more challenging environment than otherwise. They're not seeing the usual suspects come out and promising the kind of funds and support that they might have been expecting. But at the same time, clearly not the kind of vote that they would want to have to take in an election year next year, and not the kind of debate they'd want to be having heading into the midterm. So it's great to get that off the table.
And the other issue, Clinton and Rebecca, that the White House, the president faces coming back from this trip is Iran, where he, of course, wants more time to work on a negotiated diplomatic settlement agreement with Iran, and there are still some forces in the United States Senate who say, no, let's just keep slapping on more sanctions. Secretary of State John Kerry was in front of the House committee yesterday, will be in front of a Senate committee today. How is that looking? Is the president going to get more time?
Well, at the moment, the dynamic at the moment seems to be, look, he's facing skepticism on the Hill. On the other hand, you got that news yesterday. The Senate Banking Committee is going to hold off on passing a new sanctions bill. So even as Kerry, Kerry got kind of a skeptical reception yesterday on the House side, clearly probably going to face some of the same sorts of questions on the Senate side today. But at the moment, at least, it appears that the leadership of the different committees involved are prepared to give the administration the kind of breathing room that they want. Tim Johnson yesterday specifically pointing to what he heard from the president, what he heard from John Kerry, said they made a strong case for a pause in congressional action. And so, of course, Tim Johnson, the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, he said he's inclined to hold off and support their request to kind of take a pause on action for now.
There's a lot of skepticism about making a deal with Iran, but you got to try.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying before when this initially happened. It was like, hey, look, I'm just glad the avenues of communication are open at all at this stage, rather than suddenly just deciding, it's sanctions or bust. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No, or bomb Iran, as John
McCain would say. Yeah.
So we had a phone call to the president of Iran. Now we have some talks going on there. Now, we had a handshake with Raul Castro yesterday. Maybe we can get some talks.
That's called diplomacy, kids.
Exactly. All right, Rebecca, we'll see you a little bit later. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Rebecca Sinderbrand is with Politico, the deputy White House editor at Politico.com.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. We've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team, re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. The important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is 13 minutes before the top of the hour. This is Wednesday, December 11th. This is the Bill Press Show. This is Clinton Yates.
What's up?
With the Washington Post.
Glad to be here.
As a friend of Bill. Clinton, we've been doing this show for 8 years, and I've wanted a drum roll since the beginning of this show, and I still don't have one. And now is the time we need one because we have some breaking news.
You have a drum roll.
We have the manual.
Oh, there it is.
Exactly. There it is. I'll be a part of that.
All right,
I have breaking news, Bill.
Let's hear
breaking news. We have Time Magazine's Person of the Year.
Anthony Weiner.
No.
Damn it.
Ted Cruz is not Time Magazine's Person of the Year. I went full Seacrest on you. I went full Seacrest. No, the Person of the Year is Pope Francis.
Of course.
Pope Francis, as you predicted,
Yes.
Bill. They did make a point to say Edward Snowden was the runner-up. And they have a full profile and a big story on him. But Pope Francis is your Person of the Year 2013.
I predicted that yesterday. Clinton
pretty much the only way to go there.
The only way to go. But I think it's a big CS on the part of Time Magazine for not going with Edward Snowden. I think they're afraid of getting too much criticism. You can't go wrong. But look, the Pope. I don't want to take anything away from the Pope either.
Right.
He's getting up there to talk about changing the world. He's another one I'd put in that category.
Way up there.
Yeah.
And if the Catholic Church is smart and they look at what he's done, it's more popular now than it has been in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
This could change the way that the Catholic Church looks at their future leaders.
Well, one would hope, and I would also hope that the American Catholic bishops would take a look at the cover of Time Magazine and realize that they are going in the wrong direction and the Pope is going in the right direction. Yeah.
Jackpot.
Right. Now, there was one other part of the ceremony yesterday we haven't had a chance to talk about.
Oh, yes, there was.
So there was a lot of talk about the handshake. There was also a lot of talk about the selfie.
Yes.
Which was, first of all, for people who might not know,
the Danish Prime Minister and David Cameron.
Who's a a looker, by the way.
Right.
She's very
not
attractive.
really the point, but let's get to it. And President Obama took a selfie, which is, if you don't know, it's when you basically point the camera in your face and you take a picture of yourself.
So the three of them are all lined up.
Yes, they're all lined
smiling
up,
and
making their goofy faces. Now, there's two factors here. One of which is it really appropriate? Now, listen, that's sort of a discussion to me that I don't personally find that to be an offensive thing. You know, the idea is that, listen, you should show more decorum when you're at an event like that. But, and it's effectively a funeral, so it's not really cool to be taking pictures. I'm not really buying that just because I don't think it's that serious personally.
Well, also, I might point out, this was a celebration of life.
Right.
The South Africans, 100,000 of them who were there, were not mourning. They were dancing
and
singing. They were singing.
To the point that they were asked to tone it down at one point, even by,
If you saw the speakers in back of them, you could see the umbrellas bouncing or in the rain. They were singing and they were dancing. And, when I go to celebrations of life today, which is what most memorials we have now instead of crying, creepy funerals, right? Thank God. People are glad to see each other, and they're talking, and they're laughing, and they're telling good, funny stories about the person they're there to honor and everything. So,
so that's reasonable. But the real debate came in this series of photos of him sort of, I don't want to use the word flirting necessarily, but his interactions with the Danish Prime Minister did not make some people feel easy, specifically the First Lady of the United States of America, who was looking upon with what the kids call the side eye. And I guess what happened was, while he went to speak, when he got back, she had switched seats to the point of separating the two. Now, there's a piece in on the Wire that is great talking about this where, I just want to read from this. He says, Heli runs part of the world. So does Obama. There's nothing on that program, referring to the memorial program. There's nothing on that program that a woman who runs a country wouldn't know the answer to. There's nothing on that program that Barack Obama wouldn't know the answer to either. Right. Point being, what are they talking about? That is so funny that they're both laughing and sort of touching hands and so on and so forth. But a lot of people, but the reason I bring this up is because last night I also found myself at the Danish embassy. And I asked a lot of people about it. And a few of the older
was
Danes...
she there?
No, she was not. A few of the older Danes were like, yes, it's kind of unbecoming of a prime minister to be sort of on camera with the president. But a lot of the younger ones were like, who cares? Yeah. This is perfectly fine. And to me, again, I keep bringing this word up today, this is a basic part of modern diplomacy. You just interact with people that you see as friends. It doesn't necessarily always have to be, hey, let's sit in two chairs that are 4 feet apart in the Oval Office and wait for everybody to take pictures. It's just a different level of interaction in 2013 that I'm completely fine with. Whether or not Michelle thought it was appropriate, different discussion. But on a basic diplomacy level, selfies, interacting at memorials and events, I like this. I like the fact that it's more than just the ceremonial stuff.
Yeah, no, I do too. And by the way, they all speak English, right? They're friendly countries.
Yeah.
They're friends and they're allies. They don't get to see each other that often, at any rate.
Right. You're hanging out. It's cool. You know what I mean? Like, and again, like I said, if this is how world leaders interact on a modern day level, so be it. They're all human beings, and that's what comes first.
But the one photo that really went viral are the three of them taking their selfie, and in back of them you see Michelle Obama there.
Oh man,
giving the side eye, and the look that she seems to be saying, "Grow up, kids.
Knock it off.
Don't you realize this is a funeral, kids? Like our teenagers.
Knock it off. Yeah.
You guys ought to be on your better behavior here.
Maybe that could be the case, but I thought it was a fun picture. I enjoyed it. I know the world is never going to see that actual selfie, but I kind of wish we could.
I know, right? Wouldn't you love to see that end result?
I'm going to White House party tomorrow night. Maybe I'll try to take a selfie with the press.
Great idea. Great idea.
Michelle will say about that. Clinton, we're out of time, but it's been so much fun having you in here. Come back again often as you can.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
WashingtonPost.com. I'll be back to tell you what the press is up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, Bill Press here. Listen, I got to have a serious talk with you today. I mean, come on. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. For the last 10 days, we've been telling you all about free speech and asking for your help here at the end of the year. It's important for Free Speech TV. It's also important for you because you get a chance to take that tax deduction at the end of the year. And we've been reminding you, free speech bringing you the kind, again, of independent, hard-hitting, unvarnished news and commentary that you depend on and that you want to hear every day from Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and me, David Backman, and Ring of Fire and others on Free Speech TV. And we've been asking for your help, but frankly, the response has been a lot less than we had hoped. It's been pretty pathetic. So just got to ask you to get with it here and really help us out. I'm not kidding. Free Speech TV, remember, gets no government funding. It gets no corporate funding. We depend entirely on your help. Wouldn't be here without you. And I know the last thing that you would want to see is for Free Speech TV not to meet its goals and have to cut back on any of its programming. So if you've been putting it off, I just ask you not to delay any longer. Just a few days left in this pledge drive. So please pick up the phone today. Make that call to 877-378-8669. Rejoin the team, re-up your sponsorship of Free Speech TV if you're already a partner. If not, become a partner in this great media enterprise called Free Speech TV. And you know, there are great rewards we offer you for doing so for $120 a year, $10 a month. A copy of my latest book, Obama Hate Machine, and Joe Cirincioni's new book, Nuclear Nightmares. For $20 a month, $240 a year, copy of the 3 favorite books of mine that I read in 2013. For $360, $30 a month, you've got a copy of 3 interviews, CDs of 3 exclusive interviews that I conducted at the Hill Center here in Washington, D.C. And then if you're blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 for a pledge for Free Speech TV, you will be the proud wearer of one of these beautiful hand-woven, you pick it out yourself, hand-woven scarves by my wife, Carol Presby. Important thing is, we're not feeling the love here, folks, and there are not many days left, so we really ask you to dig in, make your pledge today. Again, that telephone number, 877-378-8669, to keep free speech going the way you like it, with a group of people who are fiercely independent, proudly progressive, and bringing you the news and commentary of the day, every day, all across this great land of ours. But the important thing is, we are here for you. We need you to be there for us now. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, the Reverend Barry Lynn, head of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, will be joining us here in studio. And then we'll be talking to Wayne Slater down in Dallas at the Dallas Morning News about the big challenge now to Senator John Cornyn from Tea Party Congressman Republican, primary challenge from Tea Party Congressman Steve Stockman, who yesterday called John Cornyn a great big fat liberal. Well, he didn't use the word fat. At any rate, President Obama is back in the White House today, and that is about it on his schedule. He's taking a nap. We hope. The press corps has been told that they have a breakfast lid, until at least 10 o'clock. After that, nothing announced on the president's schedule, although he is expected to make some public remarks about the budget deal reached yesterday between the House and the Senate, Paul Ryan and Patty Murray. We do have a White House briefing today at 12:30 with Deputy Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Back with Barry Lynn and Wayne Slater.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
We have a Time Magazine Person of the Year 2013, Pope Francis. There he is. They chose Pope Francis because they didn't have the guts to choose Edward Snowden. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you this morning. It is Wednesday, December 11. Good to see you. Good to have you with us today. In hour number 3 here of the Bill Press Show this Wednesday morning, the Pope is the Person of the Year, and Barry Lynn is the Puffin Foundation Nation Magazine Creative Citizen of the Year. Barry Lynn, Reverend Barry Lynn, head of the Americans United for Separation for Church and State, of which I am a proud member, joining us in studio this morning. Hey, Barry, nice to see you.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here. It was an extraordinary event the other night. When you get 500 really progressive people in a room, you feel that energy. You've felt it, I'm sure, plenty of times. But it is a marvelous event, starting with the mayor-elect of New York, who said, you know, if you're a progressive, you ought to just say so. And even if the New York Times doesn't endorse you, you still win.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, look at him. And, boy, he is great. I'm a big, he's a big, one of my big heroes. And, by the way, I wouldn't say that we get all the credit for his being the mayor-elect of New York, but he was the only one of the mayoral candidates in New York who appeared on this show. And he did so 2 or 3 times.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Bill de Blasio. Yeah.
He gives you full credit, I'm sure.
Thank you for being here with our team this morning. Peter Ogburn, of course.
Hey.
With Elisa Murphy. Here our associate producer, Alicia Cruz, is on the phones, as always, and Cyprian Bolding rounding out the team, keeping us looking good on that video stream at TawkrTV, because not only can you listen to us in your local progressive talk radio station, you can watch us on your computer, your laptop, your iPad, or whatever, your iPhone, at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So, you know, Barry, the president, back from South Africa, gave an incredibly powerful speech, I thought, yesterday, commemorating the legacy, the person of Nelson Mandela, the inspiration we all feel from the life of Nelson Mandela. But all the Republicans want to talk about is the handshake.
That's right.
Where the president walked into the stands, and there was the president of Cuba that we have not had relations with, which is stupid and crazy, for some 60 years. And the president shook his hand, right? BFD, but the Republicans are trying to make a BFD of it. Last night, I thought Jon Stewart put the whole thing in perspective.
Barack Obama at a memorial celebrating the life of Nelson Mandela.
Nelson.
A man whose legacy is that he forgave and embraced his foes and tormentors, and thus inspired his country to a national and democratic rebirth. Attending that, Obama had the audacity to greet another world leader with a gesture so meaningless you can train a basset hound to do it.
Which is true. Shake hands, boy. Shake hands. Shake. You know? I mean, how many times have we done that? You put out your hand, the dog puts out his paw, and there you go. Yeah. And again, what was he supposed to do? Spit in his face, right? Flip him the bird? I mean,
well, you know, don't give Ted Cruz any ideas.
No, exactly.
He was watching it, apparently, and he walked out of the room when Castro spoke.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's great, because he was down there.
Yeah.
So walked out the stairs. But, and the criticism of President Obama, led by John McCain, who went to Libya and spent the night in Muammar Gaddafi's house, right? So, you know, the hypocrisy just flows and flows and flows. Reverend Barry Lynn here with us for this first half hour, and we'll be joined a little bit later by Wayne Slater in Dallas to tell us, Dallas Morning News, all about the new primary challenge to Senator John Cornyn. But first, Alicia here with the big stories of the day.
Some news coming your way this hour. 2 JetBlue pilots managed to land their airliner safely Monday night after a green laser blinded both of them. The plane landed safely in Palm Beach, Florida, according to the FAA. There has been an ongoing problem with the misuse of green lasers pointing into cockpits of aircrafts. Landing at Palm Beach International Airport, along with other airports nationwide, The misuse of laser-based lighting devices is a felony.
Well, who's doing this?
Dummies, don't point lasers at airplanes.
These are people who have
little laser pointers. Yeah, don't point them at airplanes,
and they
okay?
can point it in the cockpit of an airplane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's happened on multiple occasions.
I think they're terrorists.
I mean, you deserve every bit of grief that you get from the government and from the law if you do that.
But they must be hard to track down, though, right? Because you just turn them off.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Yes. A group of 6 went missing for 2 days in northern Nevada. Found in the wilderness Tuesday, crews launched a search Sunday night for James Glanton, his girlfriend, and a 10-year-old, 2 4-year-olds, and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
All 6 were in good condition, although temperatures in the nearby town of Lovelock dropped 16 degrees below zero during the search.
God.
Yeah. Their car flipped over. I saw the story. Their car flipped over, and they were very smart. They camped. They started a fire, and they would warm rocks in this fire and then put them in the Jeep where they would huddle in the Jeep at night so that it would release a little bit of that heat.
Wow.
And
really
they
smart.
survived for 2 days, 16 degrees below.
American Country Awards took place last night, giving fans a chance to vote for their own personal favorites in a variety of categories. Country star Trace Adkins co-hosted the awards with NASCAR's Danica Patrick. Top winners include Luke Bryan for Artist of the Year, Miranda Lambert for Best Female Artist, and Lady Antebellum won for Best Group.
All right, I don't have a winner there, but
they play both kinds of music, country
fan.
and Western.
I am too.
Yeah,
I am too.
Miranda Lambert is really good. I was just playing a CD in my car on my way here through the ice.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Is that the name of the CD, or you were driving through the ice?
No, I was driving through the ice. I forget the name of the CD.
I figured you were listening to Miley Cyrus on the way in, Reverend.
No, she didn't win any award.
So there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not going to listen to her anymore.
So I mentioned you are congratulations again, the winner of this award I didn't know about. It's the Puffin Foundation and the Nation magazine, annual award for creative citizenship. Is that, yeah?
That's the idea, and it was extraordinary news. Really honored to get this. The great civil rights leader Robert Moses was the first person to get it. Tony Kushner got it. Ben Jealous from the NAACP, and Cecile Richards, of course, the head of Planned Parenthood in the past few
what great
years.
company! Good
it's
for
a
you.
Wonderful company, and Cecile was kind enough to introduce me, and told a lot of stories, that only she and I know.
Well, and this goes to your work as the head of and founder of Americans United for Separation of Church and State as well, right?
Right, it does, and actually, I'm donating the considerable prize to the organization to do something we've been doing for the last couple of years, but to upscale it this year, a series of concerts that introduce young singer-songwriters, mainly women singer-songwriters in their 20s and 30s, to kind of old progressives like ourselves, do concerts in churches and union halls and even homes, and raise a little money for us and some awareness for younger audiences to what separation of church and state's all about.
The efforts to undermine, right, the wall of separation between church and state are unending, right?
Yeah, they never end. There is some good news. I always like to give speeches that have some good news. For example, some polling data that shows 64% of evangelical young people now support marriage equality. I mean, it's an extraordinary number, yes. And there's a mounting support for evolution. They accept the evidence of evolution. And sometimes the religious right goes so far. You may recall earlier this year in North Carolina, there was a proposal to allow every county to align itself with a specific religion. Now, you can imagine how many Scientology counties there would be in Muslim counties. It was just to make the whole state Christian. But a couple of Jon Stewart, Rachel Maddow appearances making reference to this goofy idea, and it gets laughed off the legislative agenda. So we can beat them when they go into these fringy areas and they're starting to lose their own kids. And when that happens, they lose their political power.
Well, there's no doubt, with all the freedom of religion that we respect in this country, that sometimes when they get involved in public policy matters, that the Christian right particularly is just, they're off the charts, right? And I was reminded of this recently in Think Progress actually put together a chronology of statements that conservatives have made about Nelson Mandela. When everybody else was praising him, they said, well, wait a minute, this was not always universal. We know what Ronald Reagan, the terrorist organization, Dick Cheney refused to vote on the resolution to allow Nelson Mandela out of prison. Also on the wrong side of this history was Jerry Falwell. Indeed. And the religious right in this country, right?
They hated Nelson Mandela, what he was doing. They were constantly accusing him of terrorism, of his wife of terrorism. And when I started doing talk radio long ago, I mean, this was a huge topic, as you remember.
Yeah. Yes.
And every conservative you would find would be a person saying, Mandela's a terrorist, Mandela will never be able to bring anybody together. And now, all of a sudden, the embrace of them by the right-wingers in this country is, it ought to be an embarrassment to them, but of course, literally, they can't be embarrassed.
Because if you look at what a Christian or a person of faith, right, is supposed to be all about.
Sure.
And you look at the example of Nelson Mandela and you say, bingo.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, he is preaching. No, I'm sorry. He is living
it.
What they are preaching, but not living.
Exactly. No, it has been an extraordinary set of comments from people who apparently forgot not only things that they always forget, like the history of our country, but even their own history when it speaks to Nelson Mandela.
Now, Barry Lynn, head of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, do what I've done. Support them, join them. AU.org is how you can find out more about the organization. They have a great monthly magazine, which I look forward to reading every year with a final closing comment by Reverend Barry Lynn. But I'm glad you're here, particularly this week, because I need to know, how's the war on Christmas going this year? Are we still under attack? Happy holidays while we're at it.
Happy holidays. I heard two great intellectual giants, Sarah Palin and of course Bill O'Reilly, talking about this last week.
Between the two of them, they don't have a brain.
No, they don't. But they are worried about this whole war on Christmas thing. It's the antidote of the war against Christianity. I mean, this is. But they were complaining. O'Reilly said that because Hanukkah was so early this year, that there's really no need for anyone to say Happy Holidays because Hanukkah's over, so you have to just say Merry Christmas.
Oh, I got it.
Can you believe? What kind of logic? Sarah Palin wants people who are anonymous greeters in big box stores to say Merry Christmas to her, or she's offended. Apparently, she does not have enough friends of her own who happen to be Christians who could say Merry Christmas, so she desperately wants the tradespeople of America to say it for her.
We mentioned we have at the top of the show, we do have a Person of the Year now. It is Pope Francis. Pope Francis, Barry, has made a pretty revolutionary statement about people of faith, I thought, where he said, basically it doesn't, I'm wildly paraphrasing, but the gist of his comments were, it doesn't matter whether you are a believer or not. If you're living the golden rule, if you're treating people, gently and kindly, as you should, then that's what's going to decide whether or not, you're a good person and you get to heaven.
Exactly. It was an extraordinary comment. And, of course, some of the people on the right were so shocked. They kind of went into a coma when he said that.
Well, I was just wondering, what is their reaction to that on the part of their belief has always been, unless you subscribe to what we believe, 100%.
Exactly.
Boom.
You're gone. You're toast.
Yeah.
They said very little. I was surprised at how little they said. And then, of course, when Pope Francis also decided to comment on capitalism, then they really took note.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had Rush Limbaugh weighing in, making obnoxious comments about the Pope. But it's pretty hard, as you and I both know.
They call them communists.
To look at the gospel and not see that kind of sharing the wealth at some level is kind of a big deal. Was for Jesus, historically reported. But they're shocked because once you start to break the religious evangelical Protestant right-wing connection on all things with the Roman Catholic Church, you start to, again, lose political power. You lose an ally on some of these core issues. You lose your own kids on important issues like LGBT rights and evolution. Your trajectory for extremism is not looking good.
I'm always amazed at what they're able to find in the Bible. You know, they can find, for example, opposition to marriage equality. I don't know where they find that, but they could also find opposition to. They can find support rather for trickle down economics. They think that's what Jesus taught. The opposite.
I kid you, I am not making this up. I have to say it like Dave Barry always says it. I'm not making this up. I have a 624-page book on my desk called Politics According to the Bible. In it, by Professor Wayne Grudem, he says that the Bible tells you what the next generation of Air Force fighter planes ought to be. And I know you're dying to know. And your listeners take notes. The F-22 Raptor. He concludes this from his study of Scripture. Yeah.
Must be the book of Revelation.
You know, frankly, it's 624 pages. I didn't memorize it.
Reverend Barry Lynn here with us on the Bill Press Show. We'll come back. I've got to ask you about the big case in front of the Supreme Court with a Hobby Lobby, too, when we come back here on the Bill Press Show. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show. live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Wayne Slater from the Dallas Morning News joins us next. Here in studio with us now, Reverend Barry Lynn, head of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, which you can join and should at au.org. The Hobby Lobby case, important case in front of the Supreme Court, Barry.
Indeed.
A lot riding on it, right?
An enormous amount is riding on it. It will be argued in March, and it will be decided, therefore, most likely in June as one of the last decisions. The issue is, does a for-profit company organized as a corporation, nevertheless, if its boss, the top guy, happens to be, say, a Catholic who opposes contraception, can he impose that view on all of his women employees insofar as he refuses to cover them under the Affordable Care Act health insurance policies? Now, it's shocking because it assumes that a company like Hobby Lobby, which is a national arts and crafts chain, employs, I think, 10,000 people, most of them women. Do they have the right to essentially have a corporate conscience? You know, a lot of people think it's bad enough corporations are given full free speech rights. But here, they would be given a conscience that they could impose on women employees. To me, it's absurd. I mean, if you have, for example, when I go to church, I have never been sitting next to a corporation in the pew. If this starts to happen, then maybe I'll think of them as, corporate entities and also persons with religious freedom rights.
Corporations are people too, my friend.
Corporations are people. and in this case, it's all about a statute called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was very simple. Ted Kennedy, Orrin Hatch proposed it. It was not about this. It was about
argued in March. We will be talking a lot more about it. We have to come back and we'll talk more about it. Barry Lynn at au.org. Thanks, Barry. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour now on this Wednesday morning, December 11. It is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, indeed, and we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weingarten, who was in the studio with us just the end of last week, making a difference in America's classrooms every day. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at their website, aft.org. Don't mess with Texas. Well, you know, we got to mess with Texas today because the political news of the day, the big political news of the day, is from the great state of Texas. Joining us on our news line, nobody who knows American politics, particularly Texas politics, better than our good friend, senior political writer for the Dallas Morning News, Wayne Slater, who is in mourning this morning, of course, because his candidate for Person of the Year, Ted Cruz, was not named by Time magazine. Wayne, we're sorry about that loss for the state of Texas.
It's very bad, but we hope that Steve Stockman will be next year's choice. Or hey, look,
listen, Ted Cruz was one of the top 5, so you know. Don't ask me why, but I find it kind of bizarre. But anyhow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. But you know, we weren't paying any. The rest of the country wasn't paying any attention to Texas. Ted Cruz hadn't done anything crazy this week,
and then.
And then we got a guy, Steve Stockman, a member of Congress here, whose campaign bumper sticker, and I'll try to get one for the studio for you, is if babies had guns,
yes,
they wouldn't be aborted.
Yeah.
Which takes care of 2 issues, guns and abortion, elegantly in one bumper sticker, and that's something.
It really should be if fetuses had guns, right?
No, these people, these are babies, Bill.
These are babies. That's true. That's true. That's right. Yeah. And I bet he sold a lot of those bumper stickers.
I'm sure he.
But now Steve Stockman has challenged incumbent Republican John Cornyn. On what grounds? Wait.
Look, John Cornyn, state senator from Texas, very conservative by any conventional measure. The Heritage Action for America, a very conservative group, rates Stockman at 90 and gives Cornyn an 86. Very conservative. I think his one sin, the one thing that angered some Tea Party folks, was that although Cornyn really found himself voting exactly with Ted Cruz on virtually everything, when it finally came down to putting his name on the resolution, on a statement dealing with the effort to close down government, Cornyn said, no, I don't think we ought to close down the government. And that is a sin in Tea Party circles. So he is considered a liberal. And this morning, Stockman sent out a fundraising email that basically said, we don't need a Republican with a bayonet at your back. John Cornyn is a liberal. And so by East Texas standards, Cornyn is a liberal. So we'll see.
Also, in part of that statement, you're right, he talked about the bayonet in your back. He said, quote, John Cornyn wakes up every morning and works to make the Senate a more liberal place. Now, I have to say, Wayne, as a longtime proud liberal, not a progressive, a proud liberal, I'm talking about me, right? Yeah. I never thought of John Cornyn as one of my liberal brothers here.
That's it, simpatico. You and Cornyn and, I don't know,
Elizabeth
Al Franken.
Al Franken and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, right?
yeah. I mean, look, this guy, Stockman, as you know, because you're there, and he was in Congress for one session, really emerging with the Gingrich Revolution about 15 years ago, and then he was reelected this year. He has done some
crazy things.
Even by Texas, crazy things. You know, Waco, remember the assault on the compound at Waco with David Koresh? He said that was basically an government assassination squad by Bill Clinton, the Bill Clinton administration, because these people had guns and so they all had to be killed. When the Newtown shooting happened, that horrific shooting at the school in Connecticut, his response was to say, what we need to do is repeal all the gun-free zones so we have lots of guns around schools. Then he raffled off an assault rifle. Some years ago, he showed up on a militia radio program, and when this is a group that among other things, denied the Holocaust. And so when the Anti-Defamation League raised some questions, Stockman defended him, and he said, no. When these people say, I guess, what is it, the bankers, the international bankers, I assume he was talking about Japanese bankers. And in fact, I'm not anti-Semitic. I even have a Christian Jewish person on my staff.
Oh, God.
So in East Texas, that's what a Jew is, one who's a Christian.
Half Christian. But you mentioned John Cornyn's voting record. The National Journal this morning points out that last year they gave him a 93.8% conservative voting record, John Cornyn. But this gets to the point where there is nobody far enough to the right for the Tea Party, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you really look at this, and this is another manifestation of this crazy war within the Republican Party by the far right, the really expression of the far right. Mitch McConnell's not safe. There are other...
Lindsey Graham?
Here in Texas, there's a congressman, Pete Sessions. He's being a very conservative Republican congressman in the Dallas area, is being challenged by the Tea Party person. So this is the difference between sort of conservative pragmatists in the party who have been really afraid to say anything, being challenged by the absolute purists. And the thing about it, as we watch this, the thing that's kind of interesting to me is it is not enough simply that you are reflexively and consistently pure in whatever you do, with ideologically pure. You, in a weird way, you have to be confrontational to express yourself. Because one of the things about John Cornyn, and I've known him for 20 years, is that he's really he's quite he's a very nice guy. He's not confrontational. He's very conservative, but he's not a confrontational guy. Like Cruz.
I've met him. I could not say I know him well at all. I met him, but I think of him as a gentleman. And which there's nothing wrong with that. But except unless you're one of the Tea Party crazies, right? It's just like it's sort of like the handshake of Obama with Raul Castro yesterday, right? No, you can't.
A sin. Again, I know you've talked about this on the show, but again, I am struck by the fact. Again, whatever Obama does is wrong, no matter what. We understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you go to the memorial service of a giant of the last century. In terms of forgiveness
and reconciliation,
and you shake the hands of somebody standing there. Oh my gosh, and that's terrible too.
Oh, right now, what I wonder about this, the Cornyn Stockman thing, is how much is Ted Cruz lurking in the background here? My understanding is he and Cornyn don't have the best of relationships, right? So
that's correct.
So could Cruz be behind this?
Bill, I would like to say yes. I'm not sure. I really think that this is another subset of the Tea Party folks. I think that the most you can say is, unless I've kind of found out here, or at least what we think we know here in the last 48 hours, is that Cruz is happy about it. He's not disappointed about it. And he's not disappointed. One of the guys close to him
has he endorsed Cornyn?
Oh no, he's not going to. Oh no, he's not endorsed Cornyn. In fact, back even when Cruz was running for the Senate, he would not endorse Cornyn to go up the leadership. There was some consideration, and Jim DeMette was in the mix, and that was when he was still there. So there was some question about that. So he is not endorsed. He's not going to endorse anybody in this race. And it's really, look, Stockman is not a Ted Cruz. I know this is sort of like angels on the head of a pin. But Cruz is smart, very smart. He had the support of Club for Growth and Freedom Works and money. He had sort of an opponent who truly was a kind of establishmentarian figure in the Republican Party of Texas that he challenged and beat, and this was really at just the right time.
Right.
This guy Stockman has no money, and he has some really checkered past.
All right. Now, quickly, I got to ask you one other Texas story. This week, we've been talking about the Do Nothing Congress. I did a little research. and they did some things. They passed 52 bills, right, this year. But one of the bills, Wayne, was to rename a section of the IRS tax code after former Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson. Now, my question is, did anybody talk to her before they honored her in this way? I mean, you think about a public school or a federal building or a highway, right, or an airport, but a section of the tax code, is that how you want to be remembered in Texas?
That is a high honor at this moment in Tea Party fervor, Texas.
I guess that's what it is, right?
I mean, after all, you label people in crazy ways. We have, as you know, and I'll let you go, we have the governor's race right now with Wendy Davis, the Democrat, and she has been joined by a nationally recognized Latina, Hispanic leader, State Senator Leticia Van de Putte, and that's the top of the ticket in next year's gubernatorial Democrat side. A Tea Party activist has already labeled them abortion Barbie and Barrio Boopsie. That's the way that I'm serious. I am serious.
My God.
So, the idea that the tax code is a highest honor that you can have for Kay Bailey, I'm sure Kay Bailey is shaking her head.
Oh, Wayne, I got to tell you, I envy you with that job of being there as a Texas politics on a daily diet. You got it. Thanks, Wayne, for joining us. And Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. All right, thanks. Wayne Slater, senior political writer for the Dallas Morning News. It's crazier than I thought.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes now before the top of the hour, winding up, our show here on a Wednesday morning, December 11th. Thanks for being with us today on your local progressive talk radio station and on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. A couple of big items in the news today. What do you know? Surprise, surprise. Congress can get something done. Looks like it. At a time when we figured they'd end the year without any accomplishment at all. Senator Patty Murray and Congressman Paul Ryan, Chairman Paul Ryan, stepped in front of the cameras yesterday and said they have reached a budget deal, which they're now going to take to their respective House caucuses in the House and in the Senate and try to get a positive vote out of both houses before the end of the week. President Obama said he's not entirely happy with the budget deal, but he will, in fact, sign it. It's a deal that the good parts of the deal are that it will keep the government running for the next 2 years. So that means we'll be free from all of these month-to-month crises that we've had over, are we going to have enough money to keep? We're up against a deadline. What are we going to do? 11th and a half hour and the whole thing, and all kinds of deals being made at the last minute. No, we got a 2-year deal. First time, by the way, in 4.5 years that the Congress has been able to accept more than a month-to-month kind of budget or a deal. That's the good part. The other part is this rolls back the sequester, and so we're no longer subject to those across-the-board mindless cuts, but these are selective cuts now where necessary in the budget. Some disappointments about this budget deal, and I haven't had a chance to go through the thing in great detail yet. It does not include an extension of unemployment benefits. 1.3 million Americans who've been unemployed for more than 6 months will lose those unemployment benefits on December 28th unless Congress also acts to extend them, which I hope that they will, maybe as an amendment to the budget deal as it goes through the House or the Senate. I mean, come on, Merry Christmas. Now's the time to do that. But again, I guess the best news of all is that it shows that when members of both parties are really serious and willing to sit down and work together, they can move legislation. They can get something done. That, of course, is assuming they get the votes, which both Paul Ryan and Patty Murray said they're confident that they have. The other big news of the day is we have a Person of the Year. As Peter announced at the top of this hour, that Person of the Year is Pope Francis. Last night, Time News boiled it down from 10 to the 5 frontrunners. Peter, they were still the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, Edith Windsor, the plaintiff in the Defense of Marriage Act, Ted Cruz, the senator from, which I think was just there kind of as a joker in the deck. You know
Had to be.
They couldn't have been
just to
serious
get people talking about it.
Yeah. Edward Snowden and Pope Francis. Time magazine ended up by choosing Pope Francis. And their criteria, again, remember, is the person who most impacted the news in that given year, either for good or for bad. So you don't necessarily don't necessarily have to agree with them. They just had a huge impact on the news. No doubt the Pope did, and I do think he's a great choice. He has just changed people's, I think, whole attitudes, not only about the Catholic Church but about faith in general, and put us back on target to what the Gospels are all about, and to focus on the poor and helping others. And that's what it's all about, not self-glorification.
And this is a pope that said you don't have to believe in God to go to heaven.
Yes.
I mean, that statement alone is so revolutionary.
That's pretty radical.
Yeah.
Pretty radical. So I salute, congrats. I accept the Pope as a Person of the Year. But I think the person coldly, analytically, who had the greatest impact on the news this year was Edward Snowden. And I think what happened is, again, the Time magazine just didn't have the guts to face the criticism that they would get from conservatives if they named, not just conservatives, from the Obama administration, were they to name Edward Snowden as the Person of the Year. But I got to tell you, when you look at the impact on the news and on public policy around the world, I still don't think anybody had a greater impact than Edward Snowden. When we come back, my parting shot about yesterday's memorial service for Nelson Mandela and the one thing that the conservatives the only one thing that they want to talk about, the handshake, coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, if you heard of the shot heard around the world, well, yesterday was the handshake seen around the world. You know what happened after the inspiring memorial service for Nelson Mandela? It's all right-wingers could talk about. In the section reserved for world leaders, President Obama actually shook hands with Cuban President Raul Castro. Horrors. For conservatives, this was like consorting with the enemy. Mario Rubio accused Obama of shaking hands with a terrorist. John McCain said it just gave Castro more propaganda, which I say, oh, grow up. First of all, it was just a handshake. It wasn't a big hug, a high five, or a French kiss. A courteous, harmless gesture, a handshake. And second, in his eulogy for Mandela, right after the handshake, Obama blasted countries like Cuba, which invoke Mandela's memory, but deny their citizens basic freedoms. To me, the only thing wrong with a handshake is if it stops there. Hopefully, this handshake will just be the beginning of a new thaw in U.S.-Cuban relationships, because for 60 years, we've been involved in a stupid, ineffective trade embargo against Cuba. It's time to end that. Meanwhile, critics should not be too harsh on President Barack Obama for shaking hands with Raul Castro. After all, President Bill Clinton once shook hands with his brother, Fidel. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Have a great Wednesday. Stay warm. Come back and see us again tomorrow. Have a good one.
This is the Bill Press Show.